The Trump thing was just taking it to the next level. But it's kind of funny. In our building, there are three couples that love Trump. Two Orthodox Jewish couples and another some kind of Gentile couple. They love Trump. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in New York who like him or love him, but they just don't say it publicly. You know, I don't wear a MAGA hat down Madison Avenue.
Do you live in New York City right now?
I live in Manhattan. I'm here now, and yeah, I live in Manhattan.
The reason I ask is because to espouse those radical views that you've just announced in Manhattan, in a strange time to live in Manhattan, I assume you have two locks on your door.
Well, you know, in all seriousness, Dave, if you think about it, you know, being a born-again evangelical is not exactly a popular way to fly around here. And I've always been, before Trump, I believed in the dignity of the unborn. I take that very seriously. I have a biblical view of sexuality. You know, these are not like popular views in blue states. But the point is that this is where I'm from. I try to be respectful of people with whom I differ. I don't lose friendships over those things. I love people with whom I disagree on these things. And so the Trump thing was just taking it to the next level. But it's kind of funny. In our building, there are three couples that love Trump. Two Orthodox Jewish couples and another some kind of Gentile couple. They love Trump. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in New York who like him or love him, but they just don't say it publicly. You know, I don't wear a MAGA hat down Madison Avenue.
Yeah. As we're going through, we're taping this a little bit before we're going to air it, so I don't want to get into like the exact nitty gritty of what's happening today. But yeah, as we're going through this sort of national tumult and all of this stuff, and sort of the unraveling of the fabric of America that you sort of described before as your Greek father and your German mother and all of this stuff, and as a guy that lives in New York City, and you just mentioned some of the people in your building. Are you worried that we're going to look back and go, man, we had something that was so freaking precious and we didn't even realize it? That perhaps the ship has even sailed on that already?
Funny you should bring that up, because I've thought about this day and night for years now. I wrote a book. I don't have a copy here, but if I could give a copy to everyone in your audience, everyone in America, it's called If You Can Keep It. Franklin was asked after the Constitutional Convention, you know, Dr. Franklin.
We're going to get to it. Let's do it right now.
Well, that's
really, we'll link to it. We'll link to it. Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that over the years, because of my faith and because of my, evolving political views, I began to notice some things, right? And I began to notice, for example, one of the reasons America is great is that it's an idea. It's not an ethnic tribal group, right? Everybody, my father with his Greek accent, my mother with a German accent, they can become as American as George Washington. That's a new concept in the history of the world. It's a beautiful concept. And so if it's true that America is an idea, and if we're self-governing, unless people know that idea, understand how that works, and live out that idea of governing themselves and, in a sense, teaching others how to self-govern, what this means, how fragile and beautiful this is, and what we must do to keep it. If we don't, it goes away. Absolutely. There's just no question. There's no question whether it will go away. It will go away. It's been going away. So I wrote my book, If You Can Keep It, specifically to put in a small, easily readable book the very basics of what one needs to know to get it. Why you need to love your country with all its flaws, why you must love your country, why you must fight for liberty, and on and on and on. And I have to say, in large part, because I am a Christian, I have hope when most people wouldn't see hope. I think God's had his hand on this country. Listen, Lincoln called us the almost chosen people. Now, why would he say that? He said it because he knew, he could see that there was something, in fact, he used the phrase, something uncommon. This is not just another country. If you believe that God has had his hand on the Jews, which I certainly do, that's not something you party about, right? It's a tremendous burden to be chosen by God, because it means he's going to use you, and you're going to suffer, and it's not going to be easy. And so God has blessed this country amazingly, but he's used this country to export liberty and wealth and on to the whole world, because, just as Israel was created by God to reach the whole world, to reach the nations outside of Israel, America and all our blessings are intended for the rest of the world. So we have something that is so precious. And when I really understood this, I wrote the book, and I have been on a mission, because I said, if we don't educate the next generation, or even this generation, it does go away. And what we're seeing right now, I think, is the heat of the battle. We're in the midst of a battle where we have a president, in a sense, who by God's grace has dragged us back from the cliff of oblivion. And so we have some time, to back away from the cliff. But if Hillary had been elected, which is, you asked me earlier, how could I vote for Trump? I'm convinced that Hillary Clinton and Obama and those folks are genuinely tremendously corrupt. In other words, that they will put their own interests before the interests of the country. So that's strike three. But I also believe that their version of America, their view of America, is fundamentally antithetical to the founders' view. The founders' view of America, they don't share. They want to undo it. They have worked cleverly over the decades to undo it, along with all the institutions I mentioned earlier. And I really believe that had Hillary been elected, for example, and instead of Roberts and Kavanaugh, we had gotten, son of Sotomayor and bride of Sotomayor, if that had happened, it's over. The Constitution, just because it's a piece of paper, it's meaningless unless we have judges that are interpreting things according to it, unless we have people that understand it. So to me, there's no question that we're right on that precipice, as it were.
Yeah. So I suspect you think that even some of the Republicans who you said before you might have liked or at one time supported or something like that, you think they wouldn't have been able to stand up against this thing either, right?
Oh, they weren't standing up against it. They weren't. Look, these are people that I like, but they were not standing up against it. It takes tremendous courage to stand up against what we now call the deep state. The deep state is as tyrannical as King George III was. It is the enemy of self-government and liberty. And when I talk about liberty, I'm not talking about some French idea of liberty. I'm talking about God's idea of liberty and how human beings are supposed to live. And if you don't go to war with that, if you play patty cake with that because you think, well, I don't want to be the one, the press already hates me, eventually it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so I really think that, unfortunately, I can't, understand how else it could have happened. But we have had leaders who've been guilty of what people have said to me over the years, but I never believed it, that they're really no different than the other side. And I thought to myself, that's truer than I would like to believe. When McCain voted against, overturning Obamacare, I thought, what a nightmare. What a nightmare that a man who was tortured for his country has come to this exceedingly peevish, sick moment in his life just before he dies, that he would do something like that. That's the guy that I voted for. Mitt Romney, similarly, I voted for. And the fact that he would take what he pretends is a principled stand against this president, I think I would like to think that these folks are deluded, that their evil actions are the result of really being deluded, because otherwise it's too disturbing.
So we talked a little bit about this when you interviewed me, but I thought this might be a nice way to to bring this all full circle. But you don't strike me as like a purely political beast in that you care about things that are sort of much bigger than politics. Yeah. So politics is just a piece of it. But yet these days everything has become so political. And I'm wondering, what else do you think is important to live a full, clear life?
Well, there's no question that my faith in the God of the Bible is the most important thing, and that it suffuses, or at least I hope it suffuses, every part of me and takes precedence over every part of me or every other part of me. I think that, people who think you can solve things through politics are just wrong.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.